The United States International Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, finds itself under scrutiny. The Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE, has initiated a comprehensive review of the agency. This review, led by Nate Kavanaugh, aims to determine the DFC's effectiveness. It will also assess its alignment with the Trump administration's broader agenda. The review comes as the Trump administration, now in its second term, continues to exert its influence on foreign policy. The DFC, despite its relatively recent inception, is not immune to this scrutiny. The DOGE team, which includes Jonathan Mendelsohn, Ethan Chautran and Marshall Wood, visited the DFC headquarters recently. The visit marked the beginning of what is expected to be a thorough examination of the agency's operations. The DFC, for its part, has pledged full cooperation with the review. A spokesperson for the agency emphasized their commitment to transparency and accountability. The DFC's origins lie in the Trump administration's desire to reimagine American foreign aid. Created with bipartisan support, the DFC represents a departure from traditional aid mechanisms. Instead of relying solely on government funds, the DFC leverages private sector investment. This approach, championed by the Trump administration, seeks to maximize the impact of development dollars. It also aims to reduce the burden on American taxpayers. The DOGE review has sparked debate about the future of the DFC. Some observers believe the agency's focus on private sector engagement may shield it from significant cuts. Others are less optimistic, pointing to the Trump administration's broader skepticism of foreign aid. The review's findings, expected in the coming months, will likely have significant implications for the DFC's future. The DFC, established in 2019, is a product of the Trump era. It was conceived as a tool to advance American interests abroad. Unlike traditional aid agencies, the DFC operates with a business-oriented approach. It seeks to mobilize private capital for development projects. This approach reflects the Trump administration's emphasis on private sector solutions. It also aligns with the administration's goal of reducing the role of government. Adam Boehler, a close confidant of Jared Kushner, was tapped as the DFC's first CEO. Boehler, a healthcare entrepreneur, brought a private sector perspective to the agency. Under his leadership, the DFC focused on projects with the potential for both development impact and financial returns. This approach, while lauded by some, has also drawn criticism. Critics argue that it prioritizes profit over poverty reduction. The DFC's creation was partly driven by concerns about China's growing influence. China, through its Belt and Road Initiative, has been investing heavily in infrastructure projects across the developing world. The DFC, seen by some as a counterweight to China's ambitions, aims to offer developing countries an alternative source of financing. The agency's focus on private sector partnerships is seen as a key differentiator. It allows the DFC to mobilize significantly larger sums of capital than traditional aid agencies. The DFC's early years were marked by a rapid expansion of its portfolio. The agency invested in a wide range of projects, from energy infrastructure to financial technology. These investments, spread across Africa, Asia, and Latin America, reflect the DFC's global reach. However, the agency's long-term impact remains to be seen. The DOGE review is likely to scrutinize the effectiveness of these investments. One of the DFC's flagship projects is the Lobito Corridor. This ambitious undertaking aims to construct a trans-African railway. The railway will connect the Democratic Republic of Congo's Copper Belt to the Atlantic coast. The Lobito Corridor is more than just a transportation project. It is a strategic endeavor with geopolitical implications. The corridor is seen as a direct challenge to China's growing influence in Africa. China has invested heavily in infrastructure projects across Africa. These investments have given China significant leverage over many African countries. The Lobito Corridor, by providing an alternative transportation route for critical minerals, aims to reduce China's dominance. It seeks to give African countries more options and greater control over their resources. The Lobito Corridor is a testament to the DFC's ability to mobilize private capital. The project, estimated to cost billions of dollars, is being financed through a combination of public and private investment. The DFC's involvement has been crucial in attracting private investors. It has provided risk insurance and other forms of support. The Lobito Corridor is just one example of the DFC's efforts to counter China's Belt and Road Initiative. The agency is involved in similar projects in other parts of the world. From port facilities in Southeast Asia to energy infrastructure in Latin America, the DFC is actively seeking to provide alternatives to Chinese financing. These efforts are part of a broader competition between the United States and China for influence in the developing world. While the DFC undergoes scrutiny, other foreign aid agencies have faced a harsher fate. The United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, once a symbol of American soft power, has been significantly downsized. The Trump administration merged USAID into the State Department. It argued that this move would streamline operations and improve efficiency. However, critics argue that it has undermined USAID's independence. They also claim it has politicized the delivery of aid. Smaller organizations like the United States Institute of Peace and the Wilson Center have not been spared either. These institutions, focused on conflict resolution and international affairs, have seen their budgets slashed. The USIP in particular was targeted for drastic cuts. Nearly 300 staff members were laid off, and Nate Kavanaugh, the same individual leading the DFC review, was appointed as the acting president. These cuts reflect the Trump administration's skepticism of traditional foreign aid. The administration argues that foreign aid is often ineffective. They claim it is prone to corruption. Instead, the administration favors a model of foreign assistance that emphasizes private sector investment. They believe this approach is more likely to deliver sustainable results. The DFC, with its focus on mobilizing private capital, aligns with this vision. This could potentially protect it from the fate that has befallen other foreign aid agencies. The downsizing of USAID and the closure of institutions like the USIP have raised concerns among development experts. They argue that these cuts will undermine America's ability to promote stability and prosperity abroad. They also worry that it will cede ground to China, which is rapidly expanding its influence in the developing world through its aid and investment programs. Despite the Trump administration's overall skepticism of foreign aid, the DFC has so far managed to avoid the fate of USAID and other agencies. This has led some observers to believe that the DFC might be treated differently. They point to several factors that distinguish the DFC from traditional aid agencies. Firstly, the DFC's model of leveraging private sector investment resonates with the Republican Party's emphasis on market-based solutions. By partnering with businesses, the DFC can achieve its development goals without relying solely on taxpayer dollars. This approach is seen as more fiscally responsible and politically palatable in the current climate. Secondly, the DFC's focus on countering China's Belt and Road Initiative aligns with the Trump administration's broader foreign policy objectives. The administration views China's economic and geopolitical ambitions as a threat to American interests. The DFC, by providing developing countries with an alternative source of financing, plays a key role in this strategic competition. Finally, the DFC's relatively small size and budget compared to giants like USAID might make it a less tempting target for cuts. Every dollar saved by eliminating the DFC represents a smaller percentage of the overall budget. This could make it easier for the administration to justify maintaining its funding. The DFC's efforts to counter China's influence take place against the backdrop of a widening investment gap. A 2024 report by the Government Accountability Office highlighted the stark disparity between Chinese and American investment in developing countries. The report found that between 2013 and 2021, China invested a staggering $679 billion in critical infrastructure projects globally. In contrast, the United States invested a mere $76 billion during the same period. This disparity in investment has significant implications for the balance of power in the developing world. China's investments have allowed it to secure access to critical resources, build strategic infrastructure, and cultivate close relationships with governments across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. The United States, on the other hand, risks falling behind as a partner of choice for developing countries. The GAO report served as a wake-up call for policymakers in Washington. It underscored the need for a more robust and strategic approach to development finance. The DFC, with its mandate to mobilize private capital, is seen as a key part of the solution. However, even with its innovative approach, the DFC faces an uphill battle in closing the investment gap with China. The scale of China's investments dwarfs the resources at the DFC's disposal. Despite potential advantages, the DFC's future remains uncertain. The ongoing DOGE review injects a level of unpredictability. The agency's fate hinges on several factors. These include the outcome of the review, the Trump administration's evolving priorities, and the broader political climate in Washington. The DOGE review could result in a range of outcomes. At one extreme, the review could lead to the DFC being spared from significant cuts. It might even receive additional funding or expanded authority. This scenario would be a victory for those who believe the DFC represents a new and effective model for American development finance. It would also signal the Trump administration's continued commitment to countering China's influence. At the other extreme, the review could lead to the DFC being significantly downsized, restructured, or even absorbed into another agency. This outcome would be a blow to the agency and its supporters. It would also raise questions about the Trump administration's commitment to development finance and its strategy for competing with China. The DFC's future will also be shaped by the Trump administration's evolving priorities. The administration's focus on America first and its skepticism of multilateralism suggests that foreign aid is unlikely to be a top priority. However, the administration's concern about China's growing influence could work in the DFC's favor, as the agency is seen as a tool for countering Beijing's ambitions. Beyond the DOGE review and the Trump administration's priorities, the DFC's future will also be influenced by the broader political climate in Washington. The political landscape is increasingly polarized. This makes it difficult to predict the fate of any government agency, particularly one involved in foreign aid, which has become a partisan issue. The DFC's survival and success depend on its ability to navigate this complex and often turbulent environment. The agency must demonstrate its effectiveness in achieving its development goals. It also needs to convince both Democrats and Republicans that it represents a worthwhile investment of taxpayer dollars. The DFC's leadership will play a crucial role in this endeavor. They must articulate a clear and compelling vision for the agency's future. Building strong relationships with key stakeholders, both within the administration and on Capitol Hill, will be paramount. The DFC must also be prepared to adapt to changing circumstances and seize opportunities as they arise. The DFC's ability to mobilize private capital gives it a potential advantage in the competition for resources. By demonstrating that it can generate both development impact and financial returns, the DFC can attract private investors and reduce its reliance on government funding. The DFC, while a novel approach to development finance, should not be seen as a panacea for the challenges facing the developing world. It is one tool among many that the United States can use to promote economic growth, reduce poverty, and counter the influence of rivals like China. The agency's success will depend not only on its own performance but also on the broader context in which it operates. Ultimately, the DFC's legacy will be judged on its ability to make a tangible difference in the lives of people in developing countries. If the agency can help to build sustainable infrastructure, create jobs, and improve living standards, it will have justified its existence and secured its place as a valuable instrument of American foreign policy.